I'm sure you have tons of
Joel
thoughts.
died, and now the world knows. Oops, spoilers, teehee. No, everyone knew this, and it's funnier when you didn't know it, like my friend Garrett, who freaked the F out, but it's great. It's interesting to go 12 years not knowing Joel. Well, I mean, I guess it's technically 5 years. Not knowing, well, I guess not knowing the first game, and then for 5 years of more shouting, more complaining, more polarizing for the effing sequel, where people somehow still don't know Joel dies. And it's funny. I
Yeah.
just like, how do you avoid not knowing this?
I mean, I feel like I wouldn't have known if I didn't know you, because I just wouldn't have paid attention. But it does feel like
Right.
for people who watch The Last of Us, I don't know, it was a bit surprising. I did see quite a few people saying they were surprised. Do you know how many people were surprised? Was it like 20%?
I don't know that number. I mean, like you just have to be either chronically online or not. I think it's
Yeah.
very difficult to avoid it. It's like if you looked up anything about Last of Us 2 and glance at any information, the
Yeah,
whole thing's
right?
about Joel dying.
That's what it seems like.
Every discussion revolves around the fact that Joel dies.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. Man,
Yeah.
it was brutal. It was definitely, I mean, I've heard a lot of complaints. Well, I listened to Critical Drinkers Open Bar, and yeah, apparently, I've never heard anyone else talk about the game except you. And apparently, they just hate Last of Us 2, and they just all
Oh
collectively
yeah.
agree that it was like the dumbest decision ever. And they all believe very firmly that Joel was in the right. Um, which actually prompted me, I wanted to ask you, okay, like the Fireflies bring this girl in, she's unconscious, so they take away her agency and they're gonna potentially kill her. This is like, this is pretty dodgy. This is like reaching Hitler levels. What was his name? Mengele. How do you pronounce it?
I don't know.
Levels of
Okay,
experimentation.
so let me explain this because I do agree this is the hardest pill to swallow. The motivation by Marlene to do it, and again, this is all sloppily written because they needed to somehow come up with an excuse for Joel to pull this off. That's the more important part about it, Jesse.
Yes, I agree.
But
That's a
the
writing
the
shtick.
the,
But within the
the thing.
world, you
Oh, well, let me
have to.
speak. Let me
Okay,
let me say
okay,
what it
okay.
is. Oh,
Okay.
the justification is they know Ellie would want to do it. Marlene at least knows her well enough to know she would want to do it, to sacrifice herself, but doesn't want to have her wake up and feel the pain of knowing that she has to sacrifice herself.
But I feel like
That
that's
is
such a
the.
violation. Like, the human brain just
I
isn't designed
understand
to
that.
think that way. Like,
I
if you.
understand that. But the problem, Jesse, and this is important, is that Joel's reaction is not correct. He isn't reacting in terms of like let her give consent. It's more like I'm just gonna. This is my opportunity to kill everyone and
Mm,
lie to Ellie
no,
to
but I
get
don't
out of
know.
this.
I don't know if it's like, this is my opportunity. I mean, this is what I was going to present to you. I was like, okay, they've set this up intentionally. This is like a very conscious moral decision. It's very dodgy. Yeah, perhaps it's like greatest good. Perhaps it's a needful sacrifice. Ellie, noble, she would do it. Great. But Joel, for his part, like you can definitely just humanize this, like father figure, family, empathy, human relationships, and you can just paint it where he snapped. Like you could have had it where, I guess you could have had it where he's like arguing or discussing, and then he just like very willingly like murders and tortures all of them. But no, he definitely snapped and like went berserk out of rage. And then I don't even know if he's conscious of how like defenseless some of them are, but then there are certain ones of them that are fighting back at him, which is just gonna, exact like as soon as you're in that combat sort of scenario, I feel like so much of it is just a berserk rage, and it's like it's definitely understandable that this is less of a moral, conscious, like sinful, murderous act than the Fireflies. I'm not saying I agree with Critical Drinker in that side. I'm just saying I would have to play the game. I would have to maybe write some essays, think about it. But I think there's argument to be made. There's arguments to be made on both sides, because he was definitely just like
Well,
out of
obviously,
control.
Jesse. Obviously, because this has been my life.
Yeah, but you
Literally
definitely
12 years.
you definitely painted as if like Joel's obviously the bad guy, but he just like He just snapped. Like he's a
He is
victim.
obviously Jesse. He is obviously the bad guy, but that doesn't mean that I think he did the wrong thing. I actually
What?
think it makes sense that he does it. I disagree with him doing it. I never once blamed him for doing it. This is the thing that I keep having to say every now and then to you, Jesse.
So
Is
wait, when
that
you
I
say
don't blame
he's the
him.
bad guy, you're saying from the perspective of like the
Everyone
story,
everyone, including Joel, thinks Joel's the bad guy, Jesse. That's their reality. That doesn't.
except the audience.
Yes. To the extent that people think that just because it's justified in this one specific situation, why it makes sense he does it, that doesn't mean the consequences of it to everyone else is not apparent. He is seen as a murderer, psychopath to every other
Seen as.
character.
So you would rather, you're telling me that you would rather live in a world where we could abduct people, put them to sleep, and harvest their organs to save lives and extract their marrow to save lives. You'd rather live in that world than a world in which we felt empathy for our daughter figures and protected them. That's what I'm hearing.
No, this is not. We're not even going to go into this. I'm having a serious argument because
Okay.
here's the thing. Listen, the problem is that I just do think it is written unfortunately poorly. It's just gives the counter argument too much leeway to believe Joel did the right thing, and I have such a big problem with that when their clear intent is to have him do something atrocious, and for the audience is supposed to recognize that he killed all these people, lied to Ellie, and the cliffhanger is: does Ellie find out that he's lying to her or not? And does Ellie realize that he's a bad person? Not the question was never, is Joel a bad person or a good person, and that's what the debate has become devolved into.
Yeah.
And it's been so frustrating because, as I've said multiple times, Jesse, the sequel isn't answering that question on if he's
True.
good or bad. It already assumes you know he's bad. And
Or
so
maybe it just
people
leaves it open. Maybe it just leaves it open. And it's just like, this is a
No,
human
Jesse.
relationship. This is how Ellie reacts. These are human emotions. And now they're going to discover peace. But maybe
But that can't be true, Jesse. And the reason that can't be true is even in the show, it even does it more overtly than in the game, where they have to paint it more clearly that he was in the wrong. But like there's this mistake on like this moral question on if you had the right idea to kill all the fireflies in the hospital and save Ellie. That wasn't the question they wanted people asking about that event. They didn't want it to be ambiguous on if Joel was a good person. They were hinting at him being lost, and that the whole story is about how the concept of love corrupted him into doing something that ruins the world. And the whole idea of the sequel is to show the ramifications of his decision.
do you think there's anything to be said for art outgrowing the artist, say, or
I hate when people do that.
really? I think that's so interesting.
Because it only
because that's so
it only
much of
gives people
art and
the
creativity.
reason to validate their criticisms and pretends like the sequel is way worse than the first one when listen, if you're going to do Death of the Artist, then just say you don't like the game. There's so many people who whine about the sequel.
No, but maybe
for
they like it.
continuing-
Oh, true. Okay, I see what you're saying.
for continuing the themes of the first one, and they ignore what the first game was saying. They don't like what the first game was saying, and so they have to vindicate themselves into thinking it said something else.
I can see that. I'd have to play it. I mean, something so many people talk about is just the bond, the vibe between Joel and Ellie, and how it was just so fun and heartwarming. And for them, that seemed to be the heart of the game.
Yes. But like there's an endless amount of different things you can talk about, praise, or criticize. And the problem I'm burdened with is they try to simplify everything. They don't want to recognize that Joel has some serious effing problems. And they come to equate him having problems and being kind of just a bad person in the end, as if like they should feel bad that they liked him to begin with. It's not. It's perfectly fine to want them to have a happy life, but they don't get the happy life because their reality is too brutal and depressing and harsh. Like he doesn't get the happy ending, and people get really whiny and really upset when Joel dies because they thought he deserved a happy life. This is a guy who killed 18 people, as the show puts it, at least, but he killed hundreds of people to get to that point in the game.
But she
And
woke
people,
him up to life again. She basically redeemed him. She gave him preciousness in life again. And that's what he was defending in the end. So people
but
people
it's
want to believe
selfish.
that that's possible, you know? They want to believe that that's right and possible and that it can lead to a sort of paradise. And yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying. The world is brutal and grim, and in the end,
He
what?
keeps it brutal and grim with his decision. He doesn't. He is the only person who makes that choice. The whole point of the game is to show you why someone would make that choice. Ellie would have wanted to. It's such a a disastrous irony if this were a real event that Ellie coincidentally goes unconscious right in front of the
Yeah.
hospital because all of this would have played out completely differently if she were awake.
Yeah, that's true.
It does so much to justify why Joel is able to get away with this in the first place. And it is the one thing that the argument against the Fireflies has on me is
Yeah.
that it is ridiculous that they justify killing her without consent. And especially in modern day, 2013 being so different, Jesse, and especially after the Me Too movement, our perception of that concept has changed. And it's only further fortified this confrontational stance on it when it was only meant to be a kind of a really lame excuse on Joel being able to kill everyone without Ellie knowing. And
Yeah.
it just led to people questioning the wrong thing. The bigger thing about all this,
Well, I don't
and I
know.
have to
Do you think it was only meant for that reason, or do you think I mean, it definitely serves to make it just a little more interesting of a question, like a little more of a morally gray conflict, which, I'd have to like just play it or think more. I probably come down on your side. Like, certainly he went berserk and did terrible things, but is that more morally like reprehensible than than what they did, like setting it up that way and her being a? I mean, the unconscious thing is obviously a
morally.
writing shtick that's necessary to bring this to like a very tense question. Otherwise, there's just not really as interesting a climax. Um,
The moral question on if the Fireflies were justified on killing one person to create a vaccine that saved everyone and allowed for the world to heal again, versus Joel, who wants to save this one life to possibly get raped and murdered later from infected, which is, a big theme of the sequel. If you know how the sequel plays out, it only further proves that Joel was wrong. And a lot of people hate that because they thought that Joel deserved a happy ending, and this is the outcome of the world. And so it solidified this. This is the debate we're having, Jesse, is who's more morally reprehensible. The creators believe the Fireflies are more in the right, and this is a testament to how the second game plays out, in that they massively over fortify their position. And that's because, Jesse, like I said, that was not the question they wanted people talking about. They wanted to have a different discussion, and that discussion got forgotten with time. And so when the game came out, the question that was supposed to be in your head is, does Ellie know the truth about him? And, that's what the show is doing right now, Jesse. Is does Jelly know the truth? Does Ellie know the truth about Joel?
yeah.
Um, and so that's a lot of like what in her story, that she has a lot of flashbacks that paint this massive picture about her slowly putting it together, and that she should have been sacrificing her fireflies. There's this very elaborate sequence where she learns that the fireflies gave up on the world, and that they all became depressed, and some people even killed themselves afterward because there was no way to save the world after that. And Ellie is wondering why they couldn't ever do it. And Joel knows why they couldn't do it because he's the reason they couldn't do it. And it's like they paint it so unambiguous in the game. The game
Yeah.
is so unambiguous, especially in the sequel, They almost insist upon it defiantly because they didn't want that to be a question. But go ahead, Jesse. I'm sorry.
Oh, I totally forget. What was
I
I
have a lot
saying?
to say, but you should definitely say stuff yourself. I'm sorry.
No, no, no. I don't think I have as much to say. I mean, this is your treasure. I don't remember if I had more to say about that. I mean, the scene was, I don't know how you think it was. I thought it was really well done just in terms of like the emotions and the brutality. Like they definitely, went full on the violence. Like I think she's a pretty good actress. I don't know, I can't tell. Yeah, but I definitely liked how she portrayed her like anger and rage and then beating him up and everyone's standing there like extremely troubled except for maybe that one guy. But they're all like, "Oh shoot, like what is she doing?" And they all think it's too much. And I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the fandom is saying, but it was pretty intense. Definitely like makes you feel pretty desperate for Ellie and for Joel. Um, I don't know. I still feel like Bella Ramsey isn't the actress I would choose, to be honest. I don't know. Some of the
I would choose the
supporting,
girl playing Abby for Ellie.
yeah, yeah, I liked, yeah, maybe. And that bald girl with, I think she has a nose ring. I feel like I've only ever seen her in like really bad stuff, and I just don't know if that's biasing me against her, but I just don't know if she's the most expressive. Do you know who I'm talking about? What is it?
No, which character are they playing?
One of the friends. She's like darker skinned. Um, I feel like she's
Are they in
been
the
in
Abby
some like
group or Ellie
CW
group?
thing I've seen her. They're in the Abby group.
Oh, that's Nora's character. I actually
Nora.
didn't pay attention to her. She'll become more relevant. I mean, I still don't know how they're gonna split up the season. You can't possibly cover enough material with 7 episodes.
You
Are they
can.
barely gonna leave Seattle by the next episode? I have no
Oh,
idea
I
what
don't
they're
know.
doing.
Yeah, we really do need to. I get like 8 seasons. I feel like it was more like 13 episodes, especially like the end Game of Thrones, the more recent Dragons. They need more time. They need more space. I don't know if it's a money thing, but in this one too, I can totally see what you're saying. I thought the Owen actor seems good. Yeah, the Abby actress seems good. Joel's obviously good. Otherwise, yeah, I don't know. I felt like it was a really intense scene. I liked it just in terms of emotional punch, but I don't know what you think or what the fandom's thinking.
The fan them absolutely hates Bella Ramsey. They
Yeah.
hate her. They probably think Dina's fine, especially since people are saying they would rather have had Abby. I mean, Abby. They think Abby's fine. Okay, the one thing we talked about this, where people are complaining about the whole Abby not having muscles thing, and then like you have people, I hate Angry Joe for their opinions on this, and Critical Drinker for that matter.
Okay. Yeah.
Hang on a second. They say that her not having muscles means that Neil Druckmann's admitting that it was a bad idea to have her have muscles in the game. That's effing stupid.
Explain.
I I don't get why they are so against a woman having muscles.
Oh.
Like it's not like a girl boss thing. It's not even played as a girl boss thing. It's played as like traumatic for her to have to resort to that kind of person. Having muscles like that. It's supposed to be masculine on purpose because she doesn't have any feminine qualities really. And, it's another thing amplified from her trauma and wanting to put up a shield to, kill Joel one day and having that kind of mindset. And it's like that's what it really represents. And like people act like they're an effing nutritionist acting like it's unrealistic for a woman to have it without steroids and crap. I'm like,
Hmm.
can we just stop being gross? Not everything was effing black pill, red pill content like that then. And it's like it's getting a little mean spirited to treat this as if it's unrealistic when people have that in real life. And like, this is the one character that does it, and like a fantasy zombie apocalypse where a effing 50-year-old old man can kill thousands of people with guns and kill thousands of zombies with effing bricks and bottles, and we're gonna be okay with that. Like, F off. I'm so tired. And this is like such a left position, weirdly. I don't think it needs to be a position on either politics. And people treat it like it is. And it bothers me that they care so much about this.
Huh. You must be absorbing more than I'm. I just listened to Critical Drinker and Open Bar, and I think that's about it. I've flipped around on some of the Reddits, but I haven't seen people complaining about her muscles or suggesting that it's better this way. I do feel like, well, no, I don't know. It makes sense what you say. Like, she's just extremely fixated on revenge. She's trained herself up. She's a very militant type of person. Yeah, they should have it. And it is possible. I mean, if you're successful in this world, you still should be able to get a decent amount of protein and stuff, right? Like, I don't know, how buff is she in the Abby Last of Us?
Well, look up an image of her.
Yeah. Yeah, she's not even...
Make a point about it. Like, she's identifiable because she's a woman with muscle.
Yeah. Like, she's not even... She's not insane. Like, she's not like, oh, she's definitely on steroids. She's buff, for sure, but... For example, Savannah is far more buff.
I actually personally disagree. I think she's pretty buff in comparison.
Oh yeah, she's pretty buff. She's got nice.
No, but she seems like she has a reasonable. She's not a dude.
Yeah,
this is like ridiculous conversation.
Do you think they could have found a better actress just because of the physical aspect, or do you think it was a good choice?
Yeah, they should have had her train, and her arms look pathetic. I can't stand this.
They do look a little bit skinny.
This bothers me too much.
Yeah. Man, why were those people so harsh on Ellie? I guess she came in attacking them, but that guy like basically wanted to kill her. They feel... Wait. Oh, hang on. I need to send a text.
No worries. I'll just say this. I pretty much disagree with everything Critical Drinker and his gang of minions said. It's really turning me against them, knowing that they are so strongly hateful. They literally, everything I fight against is them personified somehow. Is this rabid fandom of fake likers who think it's all political. I think all the good stuff that they whenever they praise stuff, it's stuff I think effing sucks. And all the stuff that they say sucks is stuff that I'm so infuriated by how media illiterate they are. It's so effing stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, they seem to be just very politically minded. They've definitely got some audience capture thing going on where they're just pretty much every day sitting down and delivering what their audience is looking for. And they don't really seem to be analyzing. To me, they don't really seem to be analyzing much like actual story writing, character-centric stuff. At least not first and foremost. They just look for like a few markers of wokeness or whatever, and if those markers are there, then they just complain about it endlessly.
So, yeah, I had some notes I took. I probably should share some of my notes. Because, I watched it, I was taking notes.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about the first episode. But I noticed a large amount of differences from this in the game that I think were for the worse for pretty much the most part.
Really?
Obviously, it's all played out of order. They revealed Abby and her motivations very early on. I think that's stupid. So you know how when Jesse wakes up Ellie to go scouting and stuff? That's where the game actually begins. So we're 1.5 episodes into the show before the game kind of just actually starts.
Okay.
Everything is so out of order.
Again, I feel like it might just be understandable in terms for building suspense, drawing in the audience, setting up these characters in a way where you're following each throughout the season and, resonating with them rather than, it's hard to maintain suspense while following a character. Like, you can't really have the same sense of mystery of like, what's this character motivated by? Who are they hunting? If you're actually seeing a character on screen and following her,
The reason they hid Abby's motivation for killing Joel is because Ellie, you're supposed to believe Ellie doesn't know. And then later on you find out that she does know. That's supposed to be a twist on you realizing Ellie's becoming demented. And then that's completely ruined here because you already know that the motivation. And they shared the nightmare sequence this early on. That, I mean, it's so outlandish. Like, at least pacing wise, this is why you probably should play the game first, because I'm really bothered by these extremely pivotal moments in the game that are just completely ruined now because they're
Mhm.
playing it like there are sequences that play near the final hours of the game. They're just now in the beginning of the show. That's just kind of insane to me. I don't like it, and there was purpose in how they portrayed it.
It would be useful for me to play the game because then I could really compare and analyze from a writing perspective or whatever. As it is, though, I'm just kind of left to guess like, well, it seems like they probably would have done that to try to build more empathy for the characters along the way. It does feel like, you know how it feels kind of cheap if a character knows something and then you just learn it at an opportune time? Like, it feels like the more intimate a medium is, the more cheap that feels. Like, if you're reading a book, you're privy to all the characters' thoughts, and then at some point near the end, you suddenly learn that they know something and you feel a little bit cheated. And then in a movie, a little less so because it's a little bit less immersive in the character's thoughts. And I don't know, maybe it's something like that. Like in the game, maybe you can be surprised and it's like a cool twist, but in a show, maybe you would feel cheated. Like if you followed someone for 6 episodes and then found out she knew something all along, do you think audiences would feel like, oh, well, that's kind of contrived?
Um, I mean, I don't know. It's more subtle in The Last of Us. Like, no, realizing that she already knew why he died. It when it gets revealed, it's not like like declares it
Yeah.
to anyone. You just put two and two together because of how it plays out when she kills one of them and then they realize that Ellie is the girl from the hospital. That moment you would think she would get surprised and find out right then and there that she knew. But then when she doesn't really
Uh,
react to it, that's when you realize very passively that she knew the whole time. And
okay.
that's a very mean, evil scene for Ellie. That's like a dark hour for Ellie, brutally murdering that person slowly.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where when she does it, it's very similar to the winter torture scene for Joel. It's very reminiscent of that.
Okay.
And again, it's like they did this kind of in the first game, where they don't play their hand on revealing that Joel used to be a part of the hunters and groups like that. He's killed innocent people. He's not above just murdering people and torturing them, not just to defend himself, but just to further his own selfishness. Like, I mean, not necessarily. Obviously, the winter thing's very unique circumstance for him, but it's all to hint at when he makes the final decision. That this is not the same character that you initially thought he was in the beginning.
Right. Hmm.
So all of that's lost on the way the show is depicting it, at least in my opinion so far. Other things, if you were to show things more linearly, I would almost say they should have just started the show with the flashback sequences and have Pedro Pascal have more screen time before they kill him. But
That
that's
could
like
make
another
sense. Huh.
that
That
could have
would.
been an easy extra episode.
Huh. Are the flashback sequences story like enough to where you could just show
They're
those
extremely
events?
story focused.
Oh,
You don't
yeah.
even fight really.
So it's
You know,
like
the so the
a series of events that you could show happening. Like, would you have to show them as flashbacks in that episode, like all crammed together? Or,
No, they technically play out like they could have been in the beginning, but the reason they're not is because
uh,
it would have revealed that Ellie knows the truth. Like one of the flashbacks is they're in fighting infected, and the bloater very almost kills Ellie, and Joel barely stops it. That's supposed to be overt commentary on, if Ellie really does die, then it was all for nothing, Joel.
right.
And things like that are like haunting him. And then later, she actually does go visit the hospital again and finds out the truth. That's all part of the flashback. If they were going to show that she knew, they probably should have done it because she obviously knows. If you can't watch the way the show is showing these events, the fact that Ellie very overtly hates
Yeah.
Joel, it should be so much more obvious to someone that she knows.
It does seem pretty obvious. That is interesting because you feel like they're trying to build towards some sort of reveal or like flashbacks and then an eventual reveal. And it might just not have much payoff. It might not have much punch. So I could see that. I don't know. It's hard for me to judge, to be honest. Like, there's good elements. Obviously they do good with the suspense. There's a range of good actors. I don't know if I like Bella Ramsey that much, unfortunately. But it has a lot of good pieces, and I'm just kind of waiting to see how they do it. And if there's going to be a build up showing Abby and Ellie at the same time, then I'm going to see it and realize it and appreciate it. And if it's going to kind of fail, I just don't have the game to compare to, so I'm not really as attached to your
Yeah.
like sequence of events. I don't know.
And this is also one of those things where you've always heard it from me. It is one of those things where you never did play it, so
Yeah.
I obviously could have never anticipated where we are in modern day that we have a TV show that's just so much more simple to watch. And I'm getting frustrated knowing, I shared what my cliff notes and my debates on the game, and now you're seeing in my opinion, a way worse version
Yeah.
of it, and so you don't have the ability to see it the way I've seen it for half of my life, and it is kind of frustrating that there are a lot of people like this who only see the show, and I think it's just inferior. But there's other things I thought were interesting. I forgot that Tommy's wife was race swapped. That was kind of a side thing, and they have a kid. They do not have a kid together in the game.
Oh.
That was completely out of left field when I was watching. Like, what the flip? And also, that doesn't make sense. Tommy's in his 50s, like late 40s at best, and he has a kid now. That's kind of weird.
That can make sense. Especially in
I
this
don't
world,
know.
you need to try to pump out as many little ones as you can. Keep those population numbers up.
The town is, I think maybe that's more a show thing, but it seems like the town is much smaller than
Oh,
in the
really?
game. It's way more densely populated in the game. Also, I hate the therapist. I hated what I heard about them, but then when I actually watched it, I'm shocked how unlikable she was. Also, she's a nothing burger because Joel died, so why was she even here?
That's the thing for me. She does seem fairly unlikable, but I was kind of waiting to see again. I'm just not really able to judge. I'm kind of like, okay, wait and see how the season plays out, and maybe this will end up paying off because you could see like what I don't know. Yeah, I don't even know. It does seem kind of useless. Like, is Ellie gonna have flashbacks about Joel killing Eugene, supposedly Gail's husband, therapist's husband? Is she gonna have Is she gonna be like having conversations with Dina, sharing like, oh yeah, Joel was going through the and how is
Oh
Gail gonna
my
tie in?
gosh!
What?
Wait, I just had a brain blast like effing Jimmy Neutron. Is Eugene the weed guy?
I believe so.
Holy crap! This changes
Oh
everything.
no,
If he is, I gotta look this up. Weed. Must look up weed. No mentions of weed. Dang it. Mention more weed.
marijuana.
Because Eugene would have been a firefly if that were the case. He is a
Oh,
firefly.
okay. Let's see. So what does that mean?
That was
What's
like a connect the dots moment. Oh
oh?
my gosh.
Okay, so Joel had to kill him for devious reasons. Is that what's likely?
Yes,
And they
that's the
had to like
implication.
frame him.
They snuck that on me because this is not a story
Ah.
beat in the game.
And you
Snuck
can,
that
and
on
Ellie
me.
knows, doesn't she? Because there's some, what is it in the second episode? Someone mentions something, or oh, she's at the weed place, the garage with weed growing in it, or whatever. With
Yes.
and so she like makes a face. In that moment, actually, I wondered if something like that was going on. Do you think they're gonna like infect him so that they can kill him or something like that? Or Joel is?
I don't know. I mean, this might be a more competent story beat that's fabricated than I initially realized. Because I just realized that's a character technically in the game. Completely different, also, like I just said. So they probably just gave the therapist, they made up the therapist, and it's about to get more relevance, probably. And they're going to have a flashback scene
Uh-huh.
with it. I didn't even think of that. Oh, that's kind of interesting.
Huh. I bet so. It felt like a bit of an odd scene because they just use it to exposit a bunch, or yeah, she kind of rambles and then you're like, huh, who's that? And then Joel dies. But in the game, what is the significance? I mean,
Ellie and
yeah.
Dina discover Eugene's weed place. They find out he's a firefly, and Dina's under the impression that the fireflies were terrorists. Obviously, Ellie knows differently. they were not terrorists, and it was kind of like it was a moment of commentating in case you didn't play the first game on who the Fireflies were through Eugene in
Okay.
a lot of ways because they were like, oh, I thought he was a really nice guy. I don't think of him as a terrorist, and that's supposed to be the commentary. Is that after the
Oh, my computer's gonna die. Wait. Oh, there we go. Is it working? You still there? Okay. No idea who that is. Ah, okay, okay. Oh no. Oh, that's right. I don't know. Maybe I just don't notice that stuff as much as I used to. Like I kind of felt more tuned to it in I don't know 2020, 2021. Maybe I just like shove it. I really don't know. I'm just kind of paying attention to like writing and characters and maybe maybe a little bit with what you just said with Bella's or Ellie's fight and yeah. I mean, in that moment too, though, they were definitely seeming like a couple of immature young jerks, scalawags. Like maybe the whole writing for that sequence was a little bit cringe to me. Oh yeah, I wonder now that we've both seen it, like what you think of the dialogue there. It just felt so weird to me and like so stilted and like, yeah, right. And they're like sitting on their horses, like, wait, oh wait, come in, come back, come. And they're like, haha, we're gonna go in, haha, haha. And this is a patrol for like a life and death apocalyptic scenario, like survivalist. I don't know. I just maybe I was just too annoyed to notice any misandry, whatever, against men. Yeah. Yeah. Oh shoot. I don't know if it's picking up your audio just for like the past 3 minutes. Something changed. What the heck? I might have. Yeah. I I felt like I changed something because I think I was like trying to close Chrome to see if it would go faster. And I heard like some notification sound and I didn't know if it was from your computer or mine. But now I'm seeing that it might not be picking up your audio. What the heck? Okay. That's terrible. Um what? Did I unplug the Oh, was it when I plugged in my computer? Wait. What is going on? That shouldn't be the case. No. Audio input capture. Blue Yeti mic. Okay. What? It's not working. Mac audio capture. Desktop audio capture. Boom. Try again.
Hello, hello.
Oh, that's working. Yeah.
All right. And that's the clap telling you where to edit out.
Okay. Let me get some water.
So, if I got cut out, I just wanted to say Chris Mason is a misogynist. He hates men, and he himself's a man. So I'm worried about his mental health. Uh, Obviously, people are going to be like, how could Conrad be such a effing right wing misogynist, sexist? And I'm like, I mean, I love Last of Us game. Hello, it's not as if I hate women. It's a matter of I don't like when people hate anyone. I don't like it when women hate men. I don't like it when I especially don't like it when men hate women. I think it's way more stupid when men hate women. But the whole women hating men thing, I'm not really a fan of either. Chris, do better. Go back in time and have Ellie like men. I mean, not wow, that was way off base because she's obviously a lesbian. But you know what I mean, Chris.
Are we
If you're
talking about
watching
how
this,
much we hate women?
no, I'm just joking. You'll find out later, probably when you hear it again. But anyway, moving on to episode 2. My notes on that. I just kept ranting. I was just so annoyed at how much exposition there is. It just
There is a
over
lot of
explains
exposition.
everything
Yeah.
to an insane degree.
I agree.
Reiterating stuff. It's very annoying.
Yeah, it'll definitely,
Uh,
you'll be following a character and like feeling their emotions based on who they're talking to and their face and like, oh, they're in danger. And then they'll definitely just pause and kind of explain again, like, remember, we're in this situation.
yeah, that's weird. It's so different. I mean, obviously, you've seen Uncharted 4. They talk and they like quip and joke, not like a Marvel way, but like they'll like they're like lighthearted. They have like kind of like that in between the combats and stealth sections,
Right.
where obviously there's a lot of downtime where they have a lot of fun stuff to say around the environment as they explore it. They don't do that here. They're just effing annoying, and they
Yeah.
don't feel like real people.
Yeah. No, you're probably right generally. I do.
The
I
best,
mean, I like Tommy, Joel, Abby. I do like a few of the core actors, but the scripting has been a bit weird. I think the second episode for me was better than the first. The first, it was just so stilted, like that whole middle sequence with them running in. And then I don't know. I will say the setting's pretty cool. I don't know if a lot of post-apocalyptic stuff has this. I guess it does. It definitely plays up the setting, but I really like being in the snow and like having all the terrain be such a factor in like how they choose to where they choose to go, and it's just very cinematic as well. Oh, and then the zombies under the what are they called? Clickers, or what are all of them
they're
collectively
called
called?
it's called the cordyceps, but like people will
Cordyceps.
say runners for the majority. The clickers are the rarer types.
Okay, yeah, that's
Um,
what I thought. All the
yeah,
runners like under the snow, that was pretty cool. And when they started to kind of sink and you're like, wait, what's going on? And then you're like, and then they all come bursting out from underneath. That was pretty freaky. Holy cow.
that definitely is different slightly from the game. They do go after Abby, but they act like Abby almost like causes it, and the town gets attacked. That doesn't
Yeah.
happen in the game.
Yeah, they definitely act like that. And I was trying to figure out, are we supposed to gather that the fungus in the pipe, like once it sensed a human, it alerted the zombies, and that's why they
I think
all
so, and that's stupid because it's not the
okay.
game either. Also, very importantly, Jesse, none of that happened in the game. The town never gets attacked. No one
Right.
ever dies. Nothing. None of that happens. And it's frustrating for me because a lot of people really like it, and that really bothers me.
A
On
lot of
like a
people were saying it was like epic and like back to Game of Thrones level battles and stuff. They're just
Yes, I heard that, and I'm like, "What? This is silly.
they're
We're
just not
wasting our
familiar
time."
with the game or the character stories. I don't know. I'm not a huge battles guy, as you know. Um,
Yes.
it'll never really be my
Neither is
favorite
Last of
part.
Us.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. It was yeah, I can't say I paid too much attention to that part. I mean, it was good seeing the villagers like coordinate and that they'd planned for this and trained for this, and it was cool seeing the families fight for each other and whatnot. But I don't know. It
Yeah,
was
I guess,
for
but
me. It
it's like
was yeah,
boring. I mean, for me, that kind of stuff's boring. I just like we talk so endlessly. I talk so endlessly about everything except effing the effing zombies and the combat and
yeah,
anything related to that because it's so needlessly boring. It's like it's like an extremely well regarded story narrative game, and yet we're fixated on something that's never happened in the game, and it's just a dumb effing action sequence to me. It's like I don't effing care at all because it's not furthering the plot,
yeah.
and it doesn't really do much, especially since it doesn't follow the stakes of the original at all. um, the fence, the when the zombies are on the fence and like Abby's going through and she's going prone because of how it goes. That's actually verbatim to the game, and that
Oh
was a
yeah.
cool sequence.
Oh, that's a cool.
That was,
That's freaky. Holy cow.
and you actually are invested in Abby and her dying. I don't personally care about the town people and them fighting the zombies as these faceless nobodies that we don't know. They freely kill them in the streets to the zombies and stuff, and it's like I
Yeah.
don't care about this.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Jackson Hole has been built up as like this pretty peaceful, stable, idyllic place, and people are definitely going to be devastated. The audience is definitely going to be devastated. It's like, oh no, it's paradise has been invaded and people have died, but you don't really know any of them. Like, I guess, I mean, yeah, watching Tommy fight that. What's the big one called?
Loader.
Bloater. That's right. Watching Tommy fight that bloater is just like I don't know if there's tons of stakes here. I don't really know what's going on, or I assume he's gonna kill it, and that's gonna be that. I don't know. How is the
Yeah,
bloater in the game? Is there any sort of interaction with the bloater and Tommy, or no? There's like no
Don't get
attack
to
whatsoever.
fight. No, we go. Keep in mind that doesn't happen in the game.
Yeah.
But no, you only ever fight bloaters as Joel or Ellie. With like Bill is there for the one time, and then the
Okay.
other time you fight a bloater, I guess is Abby. Like I don't. You never get Tommy shown fight. It's not as if you couldn't show him fighting it. Like obviously for showing the show and just having combat or whatever. Because I guess they,
Yeah.
they feel obligated to show zombies. I mean, no, it's not like they're obligated. They do have to on occasion, but like the zombies in the game are pretty effing boring to fight, unfortunately. And I
Really.
think that's a very common opinion. The humans are vastly more fun and interesting and tense to fight in the game. You feel like honestly, the zombies feel like they are very rudimentary AI, and like you can
Mm,
very easily handle them in a very rudimentary way. Whereas like you have to improvise way more against human AI. And it's one of those big disconnections where ironically the zombie game, I don't like fighting the zombies as much. And I have it high ranked on my list. I actually do strongly believe the zombies are kind of effing stupid.
huh. So
Except for the stalkers, I should specify. The stalkers are good. And the
okay.
Rat King. The Rat King is the best thing in the whole game.
Oh, you've shown me that scene. Where does that take place again?
That's Seattle in
Okay.
in Abby's sequence.
So Tommy now in the game, Tommy is also fixed on vengeance and he goes to Seattle, or he goes to Seattle on some pretense but is really looking for his brother's killer. Is that like a big part of the
No,
game?
he explicitly is. So it plays out also differently in the game. It's not Dina with Joel. That's stupid. It's Tommy with Joel. Dina's with
Oh,
Ellie.
huh.
And it's like
Why do you think
Tommy
they swapped
witnesses
it?
Joel die. I don't
Oh, okay.
know.
Huh.
I don't know other than to be different. The other thing that was so effing stupid. This is probably the worst thing somehow to me is why did they have a syringe and drugs for effing Dina to put her to sleep gently?
Hmm. I don't know. I've seen people arguing about like how rare medicine would be in this world and that they were connected to doctors and blah blah blah. I mean, I've been aware recently that people are complaining a little bit more about characters getting knocked out all the time. Because isn't that just like pretty? First of all, I don't think you ever get knocked out for really extended periods of time. But isn't that just pretty damaging to a human's brain? And like, you can't really just knock someone out,
Sure, but this is not a good alternative. Also, the
really.
bigger thing with it is in the same effing event, they do knock out effing Ellie by blunt force trauma.
True. Yeah.
It's just
But
like
I
it's
mean,
just wasting precious seconds at having them coddle her and be like, "No, we're just gonna put you to sleep." And I'm like, "What are we doing?" They would.
they're trying to make it more
Has
interesting. Like,
has
okay,
anyone in anything ever done this?
well, so it's
No,
new, it's fresh, it's caring villains, Conrad. They have
it's
resources,
never
they're
been done because
trained.
people point out it's stupid. And
They
especially for this setting. If this was like effing like a modern setting or sci-fi, maybe.
have
This is the
resources, they're trained,
apocalypse.
and they're
You
going
have
to
way more
great
to
lengths
criticize with
to.
them doing it.
No, but they're going to great lengths to care for life, except for Joel's, because Joel is their justifiable target. So, it's kind of a
No,
new. I don't know. I
this is
liked it.
stupid.
I didn't mind
But
it.
like this is stupid. You have to see, Jesse. I need you to open your eyes to the light because that why would they first of all, they planned for it? They planned to knock out witnesses. What if there were two people that had
True.
to knock out?
I mean, maybe they just carry this stuff. I don't know. Maybe what is it? What do they? Maybe it can be used for like operations or something if one of them gets hurt, or
It's
who
so
knows?
dumb.
Don't ask me.
They would have had to. Oh, I will take that back. Seattle does have modern medicine. They can do that.
Oh, yeah.
So
So
it's
what's
not the worst thing ever that they can do it because they do have that stuff. By the way, Seattle, the settlement there is a big baseball stadium. It makes me it's funny. It is so clearly a massive stronghold with extremely competent survival capacity. And like a lot of people have debated in the first game, oh, the world's ruined, it's not worth saving. And
mm,
meanwhile, in like the sequel, both Jackson and Seattle are extremely competent settlements that are pretty much never going to die to zombies.
yeah,
Only like really raiders at that point. And it's like, yeah, it seems pretty worth saving to me.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it goes to that classic kind of question where some people argue that surviving a zombie apocalypse would be like incredibly easy, and you just pretty much have a brief period of struggle and then figure stuff out. And I mean, they are pretty brainless. These ones are a bit more scary, and obviously the spores make it a even scarier matter. But how do the
Yeah, the
spores work
spores is
again?
the problem. You
Yeah.
breathe it, you turn. That's
And
how it works.
yeah, but remind me, like, are humans pretty much wearing masks like anytime they go in an unfamiliar area, or do you have like
You
people?
should.
Yeah.
They tend to make themselves really obvious. They're extremely visible, and you can put your mask on ahead of time. But if, like, typically speaking, if it wasn't for like the gamey aspect of it, if you ever go into unfamiliar indoors place, you should wear a mask, like just to be sensible. And that's what
Okay.
Joel does throughout the game. Is he puts on masks when you ever go? It's only ever indoors, really. At least
Okay.
because if it was
Yeah.
outdoors, everyone's screwed.
I mean, yeah, that was going to be my next thing. It's like that'd be huge if it can go outdoor. And I didn't know it was so visible, so that helps. It's not like it's able to just creep into your settlement and just kill everyone overnight or something.
No, it specifically is a guy who is infected. He dies, and then it bursts out of them, and it's in
Okay.
humid areas typically.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Does it like drift with the wind or anything?
That's not depicted in gameplay, but you'd have to think it can't.
Okay.
It really much needs to be in a closed environment. If it'll dissipate, like smoke and cigarettes.
Yeah.
It'll eventually not have the same. It's not like a one single spore will turn you. It's not like the thing. It just doesn't
Okay.
work that way.
Okay. Still pretty scary though. So okay, so they go to Seattle together, or Tommy leaves and then later Ellie leaves, or what's the storyline from here? Or what's important to talk about? What other complaints do you have?
Oh man, I have to play the game. This is a fleeting like a miss it kind of thing. I think Ellie wanted to go. She was denied by Tommy's wife. Tommy goes by himself, and then because of that, she's allowed to go under the false. pretense that she's going to stop Tommy when really she wants to kill him also. And
Mm.
Dina joins her, even though Ellie's like, no, don't come. And as I've hinted at before, Jesse, she really shouldn't have gone. That
Uh-huh.
was a big mistake for her to go.
But it ended up making them grow up, making her grow up.
Jesse, Jesse, this is one of the few things I haven't told you. Her going actually makes everything way worse for Ellie.
Really?
It just like when she
Like,
finds out something about her, and it's like it's just not a good time by the time that gets revealed.
oh
There's a
no.
lot of fun
Wait,
reveals.
when Dina finds something out about Ellie, or vice
No,
versa?
when
Ah.
when Ellie finds out something about Dina.
Oh no. What did Dina do? What? I
No,
can't
you don't
even
get to
imagine.
find out.
Did
You
she
gotta
kill?
wait for the show. They'll definitely make it a big point in the show. I can tell you that.
Huh? Did she seduce Joel?
That's pretty bad.
That would be
If
pretty
that were
bad.
true, that'd be the funniest crap ever.
Oh yeah, so now that you've seen it, what did you think of the no, I guess you already told me the dance scene and everything was like pretty well
That's
copied.
verbatim.
But
Yeah.
do you not feel like it's just like sprung on you very suddenly and you're like, "Oh, apparently this is a an attraction she feels." Or is that believable?
Well, that's because you're singing from the beginning
Yeah.
and like instead of like the end, like how the scene plays out in the game.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be retroactive, and you're supposed to learn why she did this all for Joel and why she has hatred in her heart. With that scene, because that's the last she misremembers that that's like how she ended her. That was the last time she saw Joel. um, but like at least in the game, she's been there for several years, and she had her eye on Dina as well as other girls, I would imagine. So it's not they have familiarity. That's not the first time they met. Obviously, she's friends with Jesse. Her and Jesse are
Yeah.
good friends in the game as well,
Yeah, I
and
mean
so
they
they have
seem
a
to have quite a
camaraderie.
rapport. Yeah, they seem to have like they seem to joke and play and laugh and everything, but I just didn't get like attraction vibes. And I mean she even urged Ellie to talk to Kat or whatever, and it didn't seem like yeah, and she had the boyfriend
Right,
literally. So I don't know. It just kind
right,
of came out of the blue, but I was expecting it because I knew from the game. Hmm.
yeah.
What?
It's funny, marketing wise for the game, everyone thought that the dance scene would be played at the beginning because obviously that was the first trailer. It's just that scene played out,
Yeah.
a part of when the gameplay. It actually plays out slightly different, and that's why people were so confused. Um, as they were kissing, it transitions to Ellie brutally murdering a WLF member in Seattle, out of context, and you have no idea what's going on. And then it shows you gameplay. It's a gameplay demo
Yeah.
as she's killing people. And then as she's chopping this dude's effing head off, it transitions back to her kissing, and then it ends off there. And that did not play out anything like that in the game. And that was a really interesting bit of marketing because everyone was talking about the kiss thing. It was the most hotly debated thing at the time before we realized how innocent debating over that was going to be with all the crap trenches we're about to go into.
Yeah. So what did you think of overall the what is it? The lodge sequence, them hold up in the lodge, finding Joel, all that stuff.
Gosh, there's all these. It's like a death of a thousand cuts. They just
Oh
do all these
no.
different things
Yeah.
that are just worse in the game. The bigger thing. There's a bigger thing I want to share. A lot of people complained about Joel dying, but they complained specifically because of how it leads up to him dying. So not too dissimilar from the show. Obviously, Joel and Tommy meet up and save Abby when she's being chased by zombies.
Yeah.
What happens is they introduce themselves to her, and Joel gives his name to her. Now, a lot of people are, in my opinion, I personally want to offend people and saying they're kind of effing stupid when they complain about this because no one knows what Joel's name was in the Fireflies. Marlene knew because Marlene knew him personally. Everyone knew him as the smuggler. The fact that Abby knows is because Abby overheard Marlene mention him by name when no one. She was literally the only person alive that could have a vendetta against Joel that actually knows his real name. Also, everyone in Jackson knows his name is Joel. He's not a sociopath. So it's not.
Right.
It would be so weird if he didn't tell her his name. And a lot of people are really whiny on this, very hyper fixated controversy because they think Joel is ironically too gruff to give up his name because he's paranoid or whatever. And he was
Right.
never shown to be paranoid in the game. In the first game, Ellie gives up Joel's name to the two brothers, and he doesn't like discipline her for doing that. He doesn't actually really care that people know his name. It doesn't typically bite him in the butt.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one so far.
So when they changed it, they had Dina say Joel's name, and I'm like, gosh effing dang it, and because it feels like
But it's fine,
they
like it's also very believable and plausible, and
that's the cliche though.
it'll just
It's
appease
like
those fans or those critics, you know?
I don't like that kind of behavior. This is
Mm.
a very hated, heavily polarizing game as is. And if you're just going to give them these little wins, then it's like, why did you stand your effing ground? Like, come on,
I don't know.
have
It
some
feels
like genuine integrity.
maybe it
That's
feels
my
like
my
very
belief on
believable
it.
writing. Like that's just a tiny little device meant to kickstart this thing, and it feels like a very believable moment. I don't know. I don't know if I minded that as
Both are
much.
believable. I listen. I say this knowing
You
it's
say this
believable either
wanting
way.
to hate the critics. That's why you say it. You want the
That's why
writers to
that's why
join
I'm saying
you.
that's why I gave you the context. This
Yeah,
is not a
true.
problem with the show. It's a problem with the fans,
Okay.
and the fans who hate Last of Us 2 feel vindicated by this, and it's so frustrating for me who's fought for this, and now I feel like they chose their side. And I'm like, cool, f you too. I've defended this because obviously it's explainable, but you cave in on something that's so effing trivial, like genuinely, that it's not even a big deal, that big of a change. But because people whine so much about it, that it became a big deal for multiple years. With people arguing this one specific thing, and then they just cave in and for the show, and it's like, great, thank you.
Yeah, I can see that. Were there other things like that?
No, that was the main one.
Okay.
That was the main difference. But there's other things like I think that Abby goes on a very weird monologue when in the game it actually plays out way faster.
Oh man, I do totally like those are the most annoying moments in any story, especially on screen. When you just want him to stop her and say like, "Do you know why I killed them?" And just like it would take like 8 words, like 8 words. They were going to kill my daughter. He could just say something so simple. And this always happens in film and stuff. And it's just like this way and there are believable scenarios like that like if someone's just so furious and they're utterly unwilling to listen to you and then they like punching you and there are real life scenarios where I suppose you wouldn't be able to communicate at all but you just always want them to communicate and it's always this device writers use to like maintain suspense until the some later point where Ellie will tell the story and then whatever but you just want him to say
yeah.
like they were going to kill my daughter they were extracting my daughter's brain like it just feels like yeah definitely I don't know if he does that in the game.
No, again, it happens too quick for that.
Oh, that's right.
He doesn't actually explicitly know they're the Fireflies from the hospital. He actually thought he killed them all. So he actually, he's upset a lot of people. They could have been easily the hunters or the cannibals or Boston even.
Yeah.
And like they're like that was the how it played out. And again, that's a part of the mystery because they don't effing tell you that they're the Fireflies in the game initially.
Yeah, right. That
But
makes
I will
sense.
say this, if you're okay with me spoiling one thing, because
Mhm.
obviously I spoil a lot. Abby already knows that Joel saved Ellie because of the whole consent thing. She was actually
Oh.
she witnessed very explicitly her father have that conversation with Marlene about needing to kill Ellie, and Marlene pushed back, saying she didn't like that idea, and she asks, "What if it was your daughter?" And then he pauses and is conflicted. Abby comes in, says, "I would have sacrificed myself, so I think it's okay to kill Ellie." She's on board with
Oh,
that.
really?
Yes.
Wait, and we haven't witnessed that in the show.
No.
That's a
This happens
flashback.
much later.
Okay.
This happens much later. And like, so this is me, because obviously a lot of people don't know about that when they're watching the show, right? Because you didn't.
Right.
So if Joel were to have said the reason why, because I was saving Ellie, she would have been like, "Yeah, I know." She would have said that, and that would have made her much more dislikable, because it
True.
plays out differently in the game, where you understand her perspective when she justifies it.
True. Huh. Now in the game, do they have this phenomenon where her friends are all like very troubled and doubting her
No,
vengeance? No.
they're more mean than her, if anything.
Oh, really?
Oh, except for Owen. One of them, I think, I forget his name. I think it's Mitch. Just effing wants to kill Ellie. He kicks her face in, and it's like, let's effing kill her too.
In the
One
show
of them,
or in
yeah,
both?
in the game. I mean,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
never are
okay.
they never are hesitant. They literally, when Joel dies, Michelle, I think, not is his name, Manuel. He spits on Joel's corpse afterward.
Oh, yeah.
And he calls him a slur in Spanish, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. They all hate him.
Yeah. They did a
And
good
then in the
job
show, they
as
seem really
far.
troubled.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like it. I like how they're building up a little bit of like dynamics, tension between her friends. Like they each have their own vibe. And yeah, I mean, he was mean and brutal. They did a good job just making it seem like a very brutal scene overall. I don't know. I definitely understand some of the complaints with how it played out and the different things you know or don't know. I don't know if, yeah, I don't know. How is it in the game? Does Ellie like, I'm just trying to remember the scene you showed
Me,
me. Does she like lay there and say, Joel, please get up type of thing?
yes, it's pretty verbatim.
Okay.
Anyway, apparently I missed it. I wasn't paying enough attention. He actually tries to get up. Is that true?
Oh, I'm trying to remember. He does
I
something.
can't
What does he
visualize
do?
it. I guess he. I mean, I'll take people's word for it that he does a little movement to seem like he's about to try and get up. Dies because he doesn't.
Yeah.
He doesn't get up in
Ah, shoot, I don't
the
remember. He moves his
game.
hand. I know he like moves his hand and like puts it on the ground in some way. I'm just trying to remember. I don't know if he's just
It's not the
indicating
most
something or trying to get
consequential
up.
thing,
Yeah.
but it is kind of funny. Not funny. That's the wrong word. It is ironic that he dies thinking Jackson's doomed. That's such a
Yeah.
mean spirited way for him to go, when that was definitely not a story beat in the game.
So sad, yeah. Man, I can't imagine them standing against all that horde of zombies. It when it panned back or whatever, and they were just standing there in the rubble, and it's like, oh, okay, I guess the town survived. I was definitely struggling to believe that.
It's
Oh,
very
and
doable in the games. They can't
really,
climb. They're not like World War
but
Z
I mean,
zombies.
they got into the town pretty quickly, and then they're just in the streets. And also, would you
I
send
guess.
people into basements? I feel like I'd be so scared to go into
Yeah,
a
that is
basement.
stupid. I noticed that too. Listen, they literally can't climb up to high ground that easily.
Yeah, right.
If you're on top of a locker, like a high school locker height, they can't get you in the game, at least.
Yeah,
Maybe they're going for more realism, depicting them in the show in some weird way. But this to me is very easy to do. You could easily kill them all if they
okay.
were the game version.
I feel like
Again, this
I would
is
have just had some trenches out there. Like, especially if they knew there could be thousands, like they had been talking at the beginning of the episode, like there could be a lot or whatever. I would just have like 3 lines of trenches and you have some system for collapsing them. And then there's just no danger at all. Or just like
Where
a
did all
wall of
they come
fire.
from, though? Like, if they're in the ice, it's not like there's always ice. And more
Yeah,
so, like, why are they there? We're in an extremely rural area. Those are questions I was having
true.
during it,
That's
where
what I
this
was
is just
gonna.
not how it plays out in the game, and for good reason. That just would not happen.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you. Like, I was guessing, I don't know. They tend to gather in groups and then they were just like going towards the sound or going towards the village and they got caught in an avalanche, I presume. But I don't know like why there are so many out there in the first place.
Yeah, and I mean, from my memory, I don't think they ever show that many zombies at the same time in the game. I mean, you couldn't really do it back in 2013 easily.
Oh,
But, they kind of represent the idea of having large amounts of them in a spot, but they typically, at most, they're like, if like the bill section, there's like 30 in a building of the
yeah,
school, for example,
yeah.
and there's not that many examples of there being these heavy amounts of them as a horde. Like it's not like Walking Dead or World War Z at all. They're much more sparse.
Okay.
And a big part of that is they actually because there's a 20-year time skip, they have a really competent way of dealing with the zombies. That's why you don't see a lot of zombies overworld, at least in the game. Again, I know your knowledge is limited on that. You see most of the zombies indoors because those are the places people have never risked to go clear out and stuff. And that's where like bloaters go and exist because they've had all that time to develop, and stalkers and stuff. And like that's just not a thing in like the game. Like, they've had a really competent, they showed the different civilizations and how they deal with them pretty competently. The hunters have a really clever way of dealing with them, having dedicated snipers on all the major roadways leading towards Philadelphia, and then the only zombies in Philadelphia are all indoors as a result.
Yeah. Wait, remind me the different. Where were Sam and Henry?
That's Philadelphia.
That's Philadelphia. So that's hunters.
Yes, those are called the hunters.
Okay, and then the cannibals. I remember. Okay, yeah, I remember everyone actually.
Which has always been a mean moniker to nickname that group because 90% of them don't know they're cannibals.
Yeah, right. True.
I'm like, it's such a mean spirited name the community gave them. It's like, guys, the cannibals are not actually that bad.